light beautifully. Swapping it out is as easy as removing the 6 hex screws on the backside, which reveals a hollowed out kind of compartment up top for the other module accessories, and even things like picking up batteries for a wireless Bluetooth setup. However, this part is going to be one of the last steps because we first have to get the PCB in place before this goes back on, so we'll revisit this in a little bit. Now moving on, our PCB of choice is the DZ60 RGB from KBD Fans. This features hot swap sockets for quick and easy switch replacement, and does have full RGB lighting built in for those who like colorful rainbow explosions on their board. I'm going to be keeping mine just a static color in the end to fit the build more evenly. And I know people out there more so prefer soldering their switches, so there's less wobble and it's just more sturdy when typing. But I like having that ability to, have the hot swap sockets for projects like this, or if I ever want to switch out the keys and have just a completely different typing experience, I can. So for the next part of the build, I picked up genuine screw-in cherry stabilizers, and this is where some of the customizing starts to come into play. We have dielectric grease, as well as Krytox 205 grade 0 lube. And this is going to be used for lubing the stabilizers as well as some of these switches and stuff. And we also have some wire cutters for doing a clipping and band-aid mod for our stabilizers. So again, now's where the customizing starts to come in. So I'm not going to be doing a step-by-step tutorial here, but I will run through what I'm doing and why I'm doing it to give you a better idea. But I'm disassembling all the stabilizers, and we're going to clip these thin pieces of plastic feet on the bottom that kind of protrude out. These just kind of bounce off the PCB. They have no real purpose here, so we're going to clip those, and we're going to do that for all of our stabilizer stems. Next, using some Krytox 205 grade 0 lube from Switch Mod, we're going to lightly lube the inside. This is going to ensure the stem smoothly moves up and down for a better typing experience. And we're going to be doing the same thing for all of our switches. We'll see that in a minute. Next, for the wires, we're going to coat the ends of this in the dielectric grease we picked up. Again, this is so when it's snapped into the actual housing, the bar just smoothly rubs up against the plastic, since this is going to be going inside the stem and the stabilizer housing separately. We're going to do this for all 4 complete stabilizers and our spacebar. This does get very messy, so make sure to have something like a paper towel to wipe your hands and to wipe any excess grease off of the top of the stem itself. Now we're going to do the band-aid mod process, essentially applying a thin pad for the stabilizers to get mounted on. It's called a band-aid mod because you could use band-aids for this. I'm just going to be using medical tape. It's going to do the same thing in the end. But you want to cut pieces the exact length and width of your stabilizers and stick them on the PCB to where they would kind of be mounted to absorb and dampen the sound of the stabilizers when you press on them. We're also going to be applying a thin layer of grease on the pads as well to just smoothen it all. Then lastly, since our stabilizers are screw-in, we'll be mounting them now. This is really going to start to kick off the whole build. Now getting into the goods. Our switches are Gateron inks from Novel Keys. These are known for being insanely smooth linear switches. But we're also going to be painstakingly lubing every single switch here because we're just going to take these switches to the next level. Again, not a tutorial, but I'll show you what I'm doing for this. And we're going to be using that same 205 grade 0 lube again. With linear switches, that's kind of the best combination for them. So now what you want to do is disassemble every single switch. I have a switch opener here that I picked up, which easily pops them apart. This is going to separate the housings from the stem and the spring. So for the bottom housing, we want to apply a thin layer of lube to each of the 2 sides where the stem comes in contact when you actuate it. Just because, 2 parts that rub up against each other naturally are going to cause a tiny bit of friction and resistance. So the lube here is going to help lessen. We're also going to apply lube to the top and bottom of the spring, as well as all 4 sides of our stem. This is definitely the type of thing where less is more, but since I was
I swear.
What's going on for lunch?
I think you're swell. I think you're swell. It's going on for lunch. Swell. I think you're swell.
It's going on for lunch.
You're swell. I'm swell. Be swell. Receive.
What the heck? No, I can't.
Be swell. Receive.
What the heck? No, I can't. can't.
I can't move.